Today, on To My Way of Thinking, we're going to take a look at something new in Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, and there aren't very many of them throughout the nation. And I have a guest with us today, Wanda Willis, who is the director, one of the main director of this new initiative. And Wanda, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Tell us a bit about this new initiative that has been announced in the last month or so.
Great. Thank you so much for having me this morning. Just to share a little bit about the A.O. Lewis Black Opportunity and Impact Fund, which was launched in August of this month at the Community Foundation for Northeast Florida. This initiative is one of a kind here in the city, which will honor the history and legacy of A.O. Lewis. It is a collective giving fund. And I'll just give you a little bit of information about how this initiative came about. Right after the George Floyd murders, of course, every organization began to take some time to sort of evaluate where they are, to look at the communities and see where the needs were. So at that time, about 22 community stewards gathered together in support of the Community Foundation of Northeast Florida, just convened and had some conversation and really listened to find out where our needs are in the Black community. So out of this conversation, this initiative was both initiated, led, and supported by the Black community in Jacksonville, Duval County area. And just to give you a little bit more insight, we took these last 2 years to do some research and study other funds like this in the country that really focuses on the inequities in the Black community. And after the research has been done, this particular fund will focus on education, healthcare, and economic development in the Black community.
Now, to your knowledge, how many of these kinds of funds, when it was introduced in the newspaper, was the word philanthropic was thrown all over it, and that bespeaks of giving away money and grants. But to your knowledge, how many of these types of organizations are up and running throughout the United States? I haven't even, I may be wrong, but if I were just to look at Atlanta with the gusto of millionaires that they have, Black millionaires that they have in Atlanta, I haven't heard of this kind of concise effort taking place. Do you know of how many others there may be?
There are several around the country, specifically one in Greensboro, and I believe there's one in Boston. We had the opportunity to speak with some of the leaders in those particular organizations to really help us sort of guide us in the research and making sure that we were able to be sustainable in this initiative. So it is somewhat of a new concept. There are not very many Black funds that are Black led and Black initiated, but certainly this fund, although it is led by Black community leaders, it certainly is a collective giving effort that is supported by all in our community, because as we all know, it takes all of us to make sure that our community is, of course, a better place for us all to live, work, and play.
But why is it needed, given all of the resources that are available to African Americans in our area, both governmental and other grant initiatives that are out there, the discussions that we're having that are ongoing with law enforcement and with the school initiatives and education opportunities that are there and the initiatives that are taking place there? Why is this necessary at this point as we sit here in 2022 going into 2023 in this 21st century? Why is this necessary?
Well, it is necessary really just to, as we started to launch this fund, we launched it at a donors forum, which we host several times a year here at the Community Foundation. And this particular effort was focused on Black philanthropy and really the impact and the legacy of Black philanthropy. As we all know, statistically, you would probably notice that in most cases that philanthropic efforts are not particularly guided in the Black community, certainly not led as far as philanthropists are concerned. However, 25% more of Black households give more annually than any other demographic in the country, totaling about $11 billion a year. In many cases, I would say that the philanthropic dollars that have been donated by the Black community in the Black community have not really been focused on, or really any of the statistics have been given when it comes to Black philanthropy. So this is really an opportunity for the Black community to support the community and to really dig deep into where the needs are and be a part of the solution in some of the inequities in the Black community.
So let's follow up on that with your mission. What's the mission statement? And you've given us a bit of your vision, but again,
Sure.
Let's delve a little bit more into the mission statement.
Sure. Well, it's very simple. In doing the research, the mission is very simple, and that is to advance equity and justice in healthcare, education, and economic development through strategic investments in the Jacksonville's Black community.
How long have you guys been working on this?
We started working on this about 2 years ago. As I shared earlier, the first steps are, of course, to listen. We needed to listen to the community and have the right people at the table to sort of talk about how we wanted to launch this fund, what areas we would focus on, what are the 3 pillars, where are the areas that we feel the need is the greatest. So we started this about 2 years ago, and we have 22 initial founding circle members who made an initial investment, multi-year gift for 3 years. And the goal of this fund it is a collective giving fund, is to involve others in the community to help support this so that we are able to make grants in those particular areas.
Well, if we look at just the issue, let's go to just the matter of justice, or I think is part of one of the things that you did mention there, law enforcement, justice. Let's look at that, which is always a critical issue.
Sure.
Within the African-American community. How did you guys dissect what you want to do in that particular area? Yes, if nothing but to prevent another George Floyd type incident here, which we haven't really had, but we've had a number of fatal encounters between Black citizens and police over the last decade in particular and beyond that. So unpack that particular item and what you guys would be looking at.
So when we look at law enforcement and the crime that plagues most of the time our Black communities, we sort of look at the root of all of that. And in many instances, it's poverty and the lack of education in the Black community, and really the lack of education with the law enforcement officers, and being able to sort of dig deep and find out where the problems are. How do we make our community stronger? And looking at all of the research done, we always focus on the education piece and the healthcare. We all know that if our communities are healthier, we're better for it. So in looking at those particular areas, the economic development, business growth, things of that nature that help to build our communities to be stronger. Mm-hmm.
Well, if we look at economics, there's been a community development corporation right smack dab in the middle of the zip code 32209 for almost a decade now. And they had very high hopes of building up that Moncrief corridor from the 23 Expressway all the way down to 45th Street or so. And it just hasn't happened for them. They haven't been able to attract a grocery store. They haven't been able to build one there. And of course, they had some facade grants that were available for the few businesses that were there outside of the strip mall that's at the top of Moncrief there at Moncrief and 20th Street Expressway. What kind of economic, is the fund looking to do any initiatives of its own, or is it simply looking to support initiatives that are already there?
So we are a grant-making initiative. So the funds that we raise for the A.L. Lewis Black Opportunity and Impact Fund will go directly into a grant-making pool so that we'll be able to support some of those initiatives in the Black community. And as we all know, that Black residents in Jacksonville for some time have experienced the worst health outcomes and have the shortest life expectancy, and of course, some of the most severe health risk in comparison to any other racial or ethnic groups. So we are hoping, it is our desire that through the funds that we raise, that we'll be able to make grants to organizations and agencies that will be able to help strengthen and change some of the statistics in those communities.
So they will need to apply to the fund in order to gain access to it.
Yes,
Initially,
absolutely.
now you guys are not talking about doing any initiatives of your own. How often is the grant making application going to be open? Is it open once a year, twice a year?
So we will have a grant making process that will be open once a year. There'll be a cycle where people can apply for grants, and we will hope to continue to build the fund so that we can continue to be able to support those initiatives in those communities.
All right. And we're going to go through this a couple of times. In fact, I have it flash up on the screen as to how people can support this. But is there a minimum amount that you'd like for folks to who want to support this process? Is there a minimum amount you'd like?
There is not a minimum amount. In order to be a part of the founding circle, there is a minimum gift, but this is a collective giving area, and we want this to be a true community initiative. So there's no amount that is too small, and certainly no amount that is too large. So we would hope that everyone would want to support the A.L. Lewis Black Opportunity and Impact Fund.
All right. And of course, ways to support. How can they do it? Is there other ways to support? But is money the primary way?
Well, there are two ways that people can support the A.L. Lewis Black Opportunity and Impact Fund. Of course, by making us one single gift or a multi-year gift pledge, and also planned giving. We're looking for people to encourage people for a legacy gift, and that means that donors would leave a portion of their estate to the A.L. Lewis Black Opportunity Fund.
All right, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we're going to have this up for quite some time so that folks can get a taste of it and see what's going on. I think it's one of the bright lights that are happening in our community today. I appreciate you joining us. Again, for folks, you can see it on your screen there, ways to join, how to get in contact with them. And it's just a good way to go. The Black Opportunity and Impact Fund. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it absolutely right. You got to put that A.L. Lewis in there. So
as always, and we'll talk more about his legacy in a future conversation. But again, thank you for joining us, Ms. Williams.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for allowing us time to tell the story of A.L. Lewis.